Just sharing your own story, which you know better than literally anyone else, that can be the only thing someone needs to hear to open their eyes to Jesus. Like, even if you think your story is small or not as powerful as some of the other ones that you've heard, that's not necessarily true. God can use any testimony in any way. I'm going to share my testimony, so buckle up because it's a little messy. That's okay. That's why we're here. So I'm going to start back at like when I was 16. When I was 16, I craved attention like crazy. I don't know what. I don't know why. I don't understand it, but I wanted attention so badly. And I thought that getting pregnant would get me that attention. So 16, I wound up pregnant. Yeah, about gave my parents a heart attack, but that's okay because we made it. And then at 17 years old, I had my son. So not only was I a teen mom, my son also had some health issues, some kidney issues. So I was in and out of the hospital dealing with all of that while also just trying to navigate graduating high school and being a mom. I will say I had the best support from my mom. I couldn't have made it without her. She is just the godliest example of a woman that you could ask for. And let me say, throughout all of this, I grew up in the church. I knew Jesus. I knew better than the decisions that I had been making. But at the time, it didn't matter. I was making the decisions anyway. By the grace of God, I was able to go to college and graduate college. But while I was in college, I met a man who was great man. I really thought that he was going to be the person that I was going to marry. I mean, I guess when you fall in love, that's kind of what you think anyway, but I really did. I thought he was the one. And one day I remember him sitting me down and telling me that he just was not ready to step up into like a father figure type of situation, which is totally fair. He's allowed to feel that way. But that was excruciating for me. That was excruciating for me. I remember sitting there thinking, like, if this person who I know loves me can't be with me because of my son, like, is anybody ever going to be able to be with me? Is anybody ever going to love me? Because my son is my life, that's never going to change. And so I remember thinking, like, nobody's going to love me enough to stay because I do have a child. And that was really, really hard. Not too much longer after that, I did meet a man who never hesitated. He never hesitated to take on that role, which is incredible. And that was one of the biggest provisions of Jesus I've ever seen. He is now currently my husband. He would even have a friend tell him that he shouldn't be with me because I have a child. And literally none of that ever stopped him. It never stopped him. And that's just amazing to me because he's incredible. He's a good husband. And I got pregnant with my second son. I remember sitting in my car one day. I think I was listening to worship music. I don't know. It wasn't abnormal for me to listen to worship music. I had always listened to it my whole life. But again, I wasn't living the way a Christian should live. But I had been listening to worship music and I was pregnant. And I remember thinking, like, this child's soul is in my hands, right? God is entrusting me with this child. I think for the first time, my eyes finally opened up to it. And, I hate that it didn't hit me like that when I was pregnant with my first son. But I think I was just so young that the weight of it didn't really rest on me the way that it does, or the way that it did with my second son. That moment is when I was like, okay, it's really time for me to buckle down and focus on Jesus, fix my life so that I can be the mother that my kids need to lead them to Christ, to be the example that they need to make sure that they have every opportunity to choose Christ. Let me tell you something. After that, I have dealt with the most intense spiritual warfare for 3 years. Now, my son is about to turn 3. And it seems like ever since I've really just kind of like handed everything over to God, that the devil has just been knocking on my door. Some days I wasn't sure I was going to like make it. I struggled with crippling anxiety and depression. It made me question God. It made me question my belief. It made me question if he was good. I struggled a really long time trying to decide if I really believed that God was good. That was a huge struggle. I remember just sitting in my car praying, like, Lord, I don't like feeling like this. I have all these negative thoughts about you, and I hate that. Like, I don't want to feel that way. I know that's not accurate, but for some reason it was like this spiritual battle that I could not overcome on my own. Like, I could not. It was horrible. So anyways, as I'm struggling with this spiritual warfare, I just decided just to lean in harder. I just wanted to read, tried to read my Bible more, even when I really didn't want to. I prayed daily, God, take this from me, take this from me, take this from me. I worshiped every single day. I just tried to lean in as hard as I could, even when my flesh was screaming at me not to. I just kept leaning in. And now I can say happily that that spiritual warfare, not that it's gone completely, but my spirit is so much more at peace with Jesus now. If you are also struggling with questioning your belief, or even questioning if you think God's good, like, I really did struggle with that. I was like, he's not good. He seems so evil, but he's not. He's really not. But if you're struggling with that, my advice would be just to, one, pray. Tell God how you feel, because listen, he already knows. It's not like you can hide it from him anyway. He already knows how you feel, and he can handle it, right? Nothing's too hard for him, especially if you're saying, I feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. And you just ask him to take it from you. And while you're waiting on that to happen, because he could take it away from you automatically, but he may not, like he didn't for me. It took me a couple years to really kind of get where I'm at now. Just lean in. Even if your flesh is literally screaming at you not to open your Bible, and screaming at you not to turn on the worship music, and screaming at you that you shouldn't be praying because Jesus knows how you feel, do it anyway. Do it anyway. He's waiting for you with open arms, and nothing scares him. Nothing is too big for him if you're willing to just lay it at his feet. We live in a world of cause and effect, but I also believe that God is sovereign over everything. So just hand it to him if you're struggling with something like that. But that's kind of my story. It leads off to where I'm at now. I don't feel like my story is like super groundbreaking. I don't feel like it's super dramatic. And if you feel the same way, listen to me. The enemy hates your testimony, and he wants you to feel like it's little and that it can't reach anyone. Because in the big testimonies, in the little testimonies, which I would argue that there are no little testimonies, but in the grand testimonies and the ones that seems like a whisper, both of those prove that God's still working. A big, huge testimony doesn't negate a smaller testimony. So I have my Bible here. I'm going to turn to Revelation 12:11. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. So it tells you right there, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. That means your voice can be part of someone else's victory. Somebody out there needs to hear how God has worked in your life. That might be the one thing that keeps them going and helps them to seek Jesus. So I encourage you to share your testimony with just like one person. Just step out of your comfort zone and share your testimony with one person this week. Even if you have to like fit it into a pocket. Like you all are just talking and be like, yeah, man, I really... Okay, that was a horrible example. Okay, so this is my first long form video. I'm working on it. Anyway, I encourage you to share your testimony this week with just one person. More if you want to, but at least just one. Even if you have to slide it into the conversation like a little sneaky. Okay? Love y'all.